All right, this is If I Had to Relearn Money. The objectives I want to cover are what rich versus wealth really is, credit, assets and liabilities, time versus money, inflation, and 4 currencies that I'll get into at the end. It is important to keep in mind that laying stones is more important than the road when it comes to building a better financial future for yourself. I could throw in a million education quotes, but you need to be able to teach yourself. Mindset is what all of the people on YouTube will try and preach to you when they're talking about their self-development courses or books that they've written. You need to be aware of your 5 closest friends as they influence you a lot, and yada yada yada. Mainly, we're going to get right into the money part, rich versus wealth. Now, money is commonly used to describe wealthy people, where this is true in a sense, but really what money represents, if you have a lot of it, is that you're just a rich person. You have a lot of money, you have a lot of one resource, whereas wealth represents things that you own that are worth more than money itself. It would be liquid capital. It would be like if it was just money. If you want to delve into the self-development area, these are the 3 books I started with. 3 in order. I went Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, and The 4-Hour Workweek. Think and Grow Rich is a good book. The title is self-explanatory. The 4-Hour Workweek is also a very good book. It talks about FIRE, which is financial independence, and retire early. This book, both the 4-Hour Workweek and Rich Dad, Poor Dad, were written in like 2012 and 2014. And then Think and Grow Rich is actually an old book. The 4-Hour Workweek also talks about the new rich, where they utilize new currencies such as time and mobility in their day-to-day life. He preaches a lot about just being away, like in a digital world, like you got to be on a laptop, and the way the book almost describes just be on a beach. And where he takes a very relaxed approach, it is very practical because, for example, this video, I'm recording it in a library study hall room. So effectively, I could move anywhere with this laptop, and that's kind of the idea that you need to get into with this book, is that it helps you adjust to a technology world that we live in today. But I did start out with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is a much more traditional sense of money, where he preaches financial literacy. Financial literacy, he describes in the book, is to the ability to read numbers, such as what your balance sheet is and your assets versus liabilities. It auto-corrected to assist. And then he also talks about the gold standard in the book. But we're going to delve deep on Rich Dad, Poor Dad here. Also, if you do end up reading these books, you probably will end up going down the self-development route, which I might make another video about. But anyway, one of the main themes in Rich Dad, Poor Dad is time versus money. Oh, I clicked too fast. But underneath time here, we have the cash flow quadrant that Robert Kiyosaki brings up in the book. And it's a very important topic. As you can see in the top left of the quadrant, you have employee, then you go down to self-employed, then you go up to the top right as a business owner, and then you move down to an investor. And the cash flow quadrant itself is a representation of time versus money, where in the top left, as an employee, you trade your time for money. And then a lot of people end up becoming a more specialized role in life, he explains in the book. So you start your first job, you get as an employee, then you specialize into more specialized roles such as a doctor. You become a doctor and you move down to that S quadrant, and all you do is you trade even more of your time for even more money, right? So it's just like an advanced employee quadrant, effectively. So then he explains that on the y-axis of this quadrant, once you cross over into the business and investor realm, you stop trading your time for money. And now with businesses, you trade people for money. And then investors, your money make money. You know, you put your money in the stock market and then the stock grows in value and you get more money. That's a very important relationship you need to understand. Also, with money, you need to understand inflation. Over time, your money becomes worth less. It's worth less because we are off the gold standard, which Robert Kiyosaki also explains in the book, which I did not know until I read this book, which is why I love the book so much. He explains how back in the day, the American dollar used to be on a gold standard in which figuratively money is in the bank and you could exchange these US dollars for gold straight up. In 1970, that went away, and that's why in the inflation picture from Investopedia, it starts in 1970 up to 2019, because that's when they took us off the gold standard. And then as you see, a cup of coffee costed 25 cents, and now it's up to, it's kind of grainy, but it's $1.59. And recently, with the whole pandemic issue, they printed a lot more money, and there's a big inflation scare recently, because we're only 1 year ahead of this graph right here. We're in 2020 at the time of this video. People are very worried that our money is going to be worth less and less. But this is a good time to understand what assets and liabilities are, which is also talked about in the book. Easily identifiable here. I got a good green lawn for you versus the red motorcycle. I would define these the same way Robert does, where he says an asset is anything that makes you money, whereas a liability is something that costs you money every month. Motorcycle, it's flashy, it's going to cost more, you're going to pay more monthly for it. A house it's kind of in between. A house can be an asset because you live in it, but then at the same time, the problem is it's not really an asset because you're not making money off of the house. So it's a liability. It's costing you money every month. Now, there are strategies to turn your house into an asset, where you could rent it out on Airbnb, and then you would then make money off of your house. Then it could be an asset type deal. Same way with a car. Like, you could buy a flashy car, or you could buy like a very cheap car that doesn't cost you as much, but then you also do food delivery with the car, then turn it into an asset. You need to think of your clothes and food as assets, where, what you buy is going to go into your body, and you're going to think of that as fuel. The same way, like if you put premium or standard gas in your car type deal. Same thing with clothes. Are you going to buy clothes that you're never going to wear, or are you going to buy clothes that you'll wear every day? Because one is going to cost you more money over time than the other. Assets are easily identifiable as real estate, stocks, bonds, and cash. Essentially, with the cash idea is that he recommends you have like $2,000 at all times for any emergencies. That would be something to have. That's up to you, to each their own. Another thing, so the balance sheet, I'll take you into this. So we got the giant picture on the bottom right. On the right-hand side, we have the 4 boxes. So at the top, this is the middle class. This is how my balance sheet would work right now. So I have a job, and then it's not so much of a salary, but my monthly income, it comes from my job. And then you follow that line and it goes to liabilities. We just got done talking about assets and liabilities. Notice how you have no assets and you have all these liabilities. I pay my car payment, and then that goes into my expenses, which is mainly McDonald's and Panda Express, and then that money goes out. Also, you should know what an income statement is. Your income versus your expenses. Very self-explanatory. Now, if we move to the left picture, part of the picture, this is how he describes the rich do it. They get their income from their assets, and then they handle their liabilities with their assets. Basically just the less work you have to do, the better, of course. Credit is also very important in the modern world. It is a debt card. You are using debt. The bank is the middleman for your money. But this means that they'll take care of you, which is really nice. Like, if there's a problem with like the merchant and you got scammed on your money, like that's actually their money, so they're going to care about it way more than if it's your debit card and you're like, I got scammed, and then they're going to say, oh well, because it's your money, it's your debit card, they don't care that you lost it. Now, in order to have credit, you need to maintain a credit score. Your credit score is mainly determined by your credit limit and how often you pay it off monthly, right? And then that determines your FICO, which we'll get into. But we're going to drive home the credit limit quickly. So we have 2 credit cards, right? You can have infinite credit cards. I saw a video on YouTube where like it was some millionaire and he had like 60 credit cards on him, which is absurd. But I currently have 2 credit cards, one of which is at $1,000 limit, the other is at a $3,000 limit, right? So then, in the grand scheme of things, for your credit score, your credit limit is $4,000. You pool all of your credit cards together to make your credit limit. So this is why it's important to never close a credit card, because if you close a credit card, then like say I closed my $3,000 credit card because I never use it anymore and I only use my $1,000 limit card. That means my credit limit is now $1,000 instead of $4,000. And then when they calculate your credit utilization, which is how much of your credit you're using, so your limit right now is $4,000. So if you use $2,000 in this month, your credit utilization is 50%. And they use these calculations to make up your credit score, and it's like from 0 to like 950 or something crazy. And like I tend not to pay attention to the score itself, because I believe that if you just know how it works and use it well, that the score will take care of itself. I'm not going to worry about it. It's like, it's arbitrary anyway. If you're good with money, you'll be able to raise it, whether it's through a bank or people. And 2 more things with credit cards to understand is that you have your total monthly statement, right? So your statement is how much money you've spent over the course of the month with the bank. So if you spent $650 this month with the bank, your monthly statement is going to say $650. But then they're also going to throw at you a minimum payment, right? And this minimum payment a lot of times is like $25. Now you could pay them $25 and they'll just eat the bill for like a little bit until you pay it off, right? So you had $650 as your statement, and then you pay your minimum payment of $25. So now your statement will be $625 still. You'll have $625 of balance left over for, let's say you used it on your $1,000 card, right? So you have a remaining balance of $625 on your $1,000 card, leaving you with $375 remaining. So going into the next month, you can only spend $375. Otherwise, you'll go over your credit limit. And then that's when the bank will cancel your card and all that. So you don't want to go over your credit limit. And the reason you don't want to use too much of your credit limit is because if you use too much credit, then the bank will think that you're a crazy spender and all that. They're kind of looking at you like a stock market. Hold on, this is how like they'll view you as like a person. They'll be like, oh, you spent a lot here and then you stopped spending, and then you're too radical of a spender, so we're not going to invest in you with our money for our loans, because they basically want to hit you with interest charges. So if you don't pay back the money, right? So like on my one credit card, it's like 27% interest. So whatever money is left over, they just add the interest, and then all of a sudden the interest makes interest. And what you really just need to know is that it snowballs, and it's very slow at first, as you can tell with the slope graph, but it gets out of hand very quickly. They call it like an avalanche, effectively. So yeah, that's credit. You should take the time to learn all of these topics, but I feel like I'm getting them briefly done. The 4 currencies. So we kind of touched on it here with time and mobility that Tim Ferriss mentions in his 4-hour work week. A lot of the topics we learned are from Robert Kiyosaki's book, which is a real estate focused book. So this is another real estate topic idea. I did a program to learn real estate investing, and they talked a lot about these 4 currencies. Now, these 4 currencies, 2 of which we've already been talking about, is time and money. They tack on people and knowledge. I think this is a very pivotal topic that I learned over the past couple of years. Now, time and money, we've been already discussing the relationship with Robert Kiyosaki's book. He talked about how with the quadrant, we want to try and be trading our money for money rather than our time for money. And we keep that theme with the whole idea that time can get you money, but money cannot get you time. You cannot buy more time. And that's where the new rich gets all antsy nowadays, especially now with technology. Our attention spans are getting smaller and faster. You can't buy more time. So really, that's where you turn to people, because people bypasses time and money, and they can get you access to more money. You can lend from your Uncle John, who hopefully has money, and if they don't, like I can't go to family and ask for money, so I don't have that either. People can also buy you time, so you can use people to bypass that whole thing I just talked about of like money can't buy you time. Well, money can buy you people that can save you time, right? So like you can fiddle around with your sink that you don't know how plumbing works at all, or you can pay a plumber to save you the time of learning and doing at the same time, and he'll get something done in 15 minutes that would have taken you 2 hours. Also, people kind of can leverage into the fourth category, which is arguably one of the most powerful that everyone loves to talk about today, which is knowledge. You can go to an expert like a scientist and ask them, hey, what is COVID? And they'll tell you. That's why we have the World Health Organization, to recognize who these knowledgeable people are. Knowledge, I guess with this example, Leonardo da Vinci, Stephen Hawking, knowledge is timeless. We're always going to be learning and adapting. Experience, of course, is going to get us most of our knowledge. I have read a lot of self-development books, and it kind of brought me to a place where intelligence really, it just gives you the ability to see where others cannot. Not to say that I have such intelligence, but to say that if you were to throw a baseball and then watch a physicist throw a baseball, it'd be two very different things. They could do the math and all that, and who knows, maybe they'll be really good because of it, or they'll just be bad at it because their muscle memory is off compared to the other person, type deal. But yeah, knowledge is everything. Knowledge, most important currency. People like the knowledge. They get people. That's a long animation. They get the people. They use people to get knowledge, keep knowledge. My uncle always used to say that the one thing no one can ever take away from you is what you know. And I find that to still be true today. And yeah, my money story so far, I was going to throw this in there, but there's not really much to say. I'm only 23, so I got my first job when I was like 17 at a pizza place, and then I moved pizza places, and then I just hopped jobs, and here I am today trying out YouTube. So yeah, that's if I had to relearn money.